Victoria, thank you so much for sitting down.
What a pleasure.
Oh, this is a real honor for me. The gift that Marvel has given me over the past few years for me to enjoy as myself, but also as a father, has meant so much.
What did you find in this journey was the best thing for you as a fan?
It's the construction.
Correction, the deconstruction of the male superhero. Make Marvel male again.
I was lucky enough to have a meal with our Vice President, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. Because I had a really hard day at the office, and I wanted to remember what it felt like not to be colonized.
While we've been doing our silly little jokes and sketches, you've been sitting there gasping, "This is the greatest show I've seen in my life."
In that glorious choral chorus that I can remember, Victoria Alonso has been fired from Disney and Marvel. Can we rejoice? Can we take a deep breath? Can we sigh with relief?
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
Great. Well, maybe not quite just yet, folks, but we have to get into this because apparently this happened last Friday. And where was my Disney contact to give me a secret phone call and to let me know what was going on before the news broke yesterday? But Miss Alonso departs Marvel after nearly a 2-decade run, where in the latter part of that 2-decade run, she pretty much ruined Marvel as we now know it. In fact, it became the MCU. Of course, I cannot take credit for that moniker. We know who invented it. And yes, some people despise that term, MCU, but it's absolutely true. Again, growing up reading comic books, I love the female heroes as much as the male heroes, maybe for different reasons. So let's get into this article from Deadline. And I'll tell you what, it's really funny because all the shills that love Miss Alonso, I haven't seen any of them make any videos about her. Come on, Matt Ramos, where are you? You disappoint me, dude. I expected you to release a in memoriam to Victoria Alonso, whose Argentinian ass got so big, I bet the security guards at Marvel, they probably had to bring in an extra troop of guards just to get her fat ass out of the door from Marvel and Disney as she was chomping on her last burrito. But Deadline has confirmed that the esteemed, is she really? Marvel exec and EP of several movies of Victoria, Vicky Alonso, as I like to call her, has exited Marvel Studios after a 17-year turmoil. No reasons were given for her departure, which was effective last Friday, and it's not yet clear where she's heading for. I'm telling you now, DC, if you get a knock on the door from Victoria Alonso, don't open it to the devil. You will regret it, James Gunn. In fact, I kind of see this departure that she might be semi-blacklisted, because if you see the brand damage that she's done to Marvel and Disney and the activism that she's done, you're going to have to really wonder who may actually hire her. Yeah, you could look at her resume and say that she's been at Marvel for 17 years, but doesn't mean that what she touched turned to gold. I'm betting that her and Kathleen Kennedy had secret meetings over cups of coffee, and if you get that reference, you're a better person than I am. And it's almost like she's a Kathleen Kennedy disciple, an acolyte, where she's just gone around saying, oh yeah, we can't have the X-Men, we have to call him by another gender, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. If someone sat Victoria Alonso down and just educated her for about an hour or so in a classroom, reminding her that the word mankind also encapsulates women as well as men, you want to think about that one for a minute? So it's a shocker that her amiable demeanor and passion for all things Marvel got her fired. Well, what do you expect? And of course, if you go to The Hollywood Reporter, THR, again, you can just see the shillery in the headline. Shocker, Marvel Studios veteran Victoria Alonso exit is an exclusive. In her addition to the behind-the-scenes work at Marvel, making it a complete and utter disaster, she has also been an important ally and ambassador, and representing the studios outspoken views, I guess, at the dispute of Florida about the educational reform bill. It's not what it says here. As long as I'm at Marvel Studios, I will fight for representation, Alonso, who is gay, said at the time. Kind of prophetic that she would use that terminology, and she was named one of People en Español magazine's most influential Hispanic women in 2019 and 2020, and featured in THR's Women in Entertainment Power 100 multiple times on that list. And of course, if you just go to the Wikipedia entry, Victoria Alonso is an Argentine film producer who formerly served as the president of physical post-production, VFX, and animation at Marvel Studios. Boo-hoo-hoo. And what are her awards? Hispanic Heritage Awards. Vision. Oh, Vision. Is that it? Wow, that's remarkable, Vicky. I'm just so surprised and chuffed by that accolade. Of course, it's not a surprise at all. Now, does that mean to say that the departure of Victoria from Marvel and Disney is going to be one of optimism and hope that we might have male heroes again in the MCU, that I might be inclined to part with some hard-earned cash and go to my local Cineworld and maybe enjoy the Marvel films of old? I don't know, because someone like Alonso, with her insipid ideology, she's left a long, streaky skid mark in the offices of Marvel and Disney. And someone like Bob Iger might be casually walking by one day, takes a sniff of that skid mark, and maybe thinks, you know what? I still want to carry on and instigate these ideas that Vicky Alonso sat down with me and told me. You know, like when George Lucas gave the rights over of Star Wars to Disney, and he said to them, don't ignore the source material, just please honor it as best as you can. And they ignored his wishes. And what's happened to Star Wars now? Well, guess what? We're going to have drag queens at this year's Star Wars Fest in May. And like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, I too will be monetizing the hell out of that content. Smile for the camera, Jeremy. But of course, we cannot finish this video without looking back at some of Victoria's greatest hits. Starting with, of course, we know it already, the GLAAD Festival from 11 months ago at the Beverly Hilton of all places. You've got this Nimrod right here, Nate Moore, one of the producers of the Black Panther movies. I think he will be next on the chopping block to be gotten rid of. He's a very close ally of Victoria Alonso's, so anybody who's a friend of hers will be an enemy of the state, and they'll be gotten rid of without any hesitation. But let's watch this. Oh, it'd be nice if we had the subtitles on.
You tolerate a tantrum in a 2-year-old, but you don't tolerate us. We deserve the rights to live, to love, and to have. More importantly, we deserve an origin story.
Yes, you LGBT community, you deserve an origin story because, oh, heaven forbid, we've never told gay stories in comic books, have we? I mean, who could forget North Star coming out in Alpha Flight? I guess people just ignore it, don't they?
Max deserves an origin story.
And who's Max, by the way? Who's Max? Who are they applauding for? Oh, Max dressed in black for his own funeral, this GLAAD funeral, that's what this is. And all those middle-aged women with their lascivious hands just about to rub Max all over. Just watch this. This is such a stunning and brave moment. I've got to say, Max's gormless expression is like a deer being lost in the headlights before he gets run over. I'm sorry, Bambi fans. By the way, do you think I'm coming across as very bitter and cynical? And am I hurting your feelings? Well, if that's the case, I don't care. I'm a based man. At least, look, if you don't agree with my opinions, at least you can agree on one thing. I'm at least very honest. And of course, we have to get back to this video here, which is, oh, what does Victoria say here? Actually, I'm kind of curious.
We come dry of ideas, you know, where you're talking about the same thing for years. And then somebody comes from the outside and go, have you guys thought about this? And we're like, No.
No, get out of here. You've been talking about the same thing for years, Victoria. Oh, what is that? Identity politics? I guess so. And of course, we can't escape without playing this doozy, this penultimate video from Miss Alonso herself. Boy, if you've never seen this, boy, this is incredible stuff.
I don't belong. How can I belong? And I said, whoa, hang on. Who told you that you don't belong? I have never walked into a room and I said, I don't belong. I've walked into a room and I said, excuse me, that's my chair. Find the room that you belong in. And
hang on a second. So she walks into a room and someone is sitting in her chair and she's telling that person, regardless of their color, you need to get off that seat because that's my chair. So she's a very sincere, loving woman, isn't she?
it may not be the one that you think you do, and that's okay. The journey is to find that so you can be the best you that you can be. I was lucky enough to have a meal with our vice president, Madam Vice President.
Kamala Harris. Lizard face Kamala Harris. Ooh, can you imagine if Joe Biden, please Joe, don't kick the bucket, because if you do, you know who takes his place. Victoria Alonso is the prime example of why you do not give an insufferable businesswoman like her too much power. She's not in the same category as more astute businesswomen who have earned their way. People like the late Jacqueline Gold behind Ann Summers, Michelle Mone behind the Ultimo Wonder Bra, and Karen Brady, but to name a few. But of course, we're talking about Victoria Alonso, deluded narcissist.
You've helped bring so many amazing stories to life and to audiences of all kinds.
Yeah, because they're already dead to begin with.
Is there a movie or series or a specific moment in your career that you felt particularly proud of?
This woman in our school, in my kids' school, where when Black Panther came out, she came over and she said, hi. And I'm like, hi. And
hi.
She said, I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
I've seen your movie
Yeah.
4 times.
No,
Fourth
really?
time I went to see it because I had a really hard day at the office.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to remember what it felt like not to be colonized. If those 2 hours could be the saving...
Yeah, because Victoria, Vicky, when I go to my office almost every day at work, I don't come away feeling oppressed by my white colleagues. It's the most ridiculous, redundant argument I have heard. And I'm guessing this mother is made up, it's fictionalized. It's just like this TikTok kid to say, Mummy, we're getting a Black Little Mermaid movie, because nobody asked for that. And I guess now we're getting it. People are seeking a representation when you don't need to seek it in the first place. Did somebody sit Victoria Alonso down and explain to her that comics, Marvel comics, DC comics, have always been filled with diversity? Has nobody told her that? Has nobody told her about Robbie Robinson at the Daily Bugle, a very cool black character who didn't see eye to eye always with J. Jonah Jameson, but they respected each other as men? I guess nobody told her about that, right?
I don't know where the future is going. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group, so I think it's outdated.
Yeah, and of course, then we had in that X-Men film where the insufferable Jennifer Lawrence, who by the way is in an R-rated comedy now, which I find very hard to believe. Oh, how the mighty hath fallen so far from that apple tree, right? When Jennifer Lawrence talked about that very moment, which seemed to have sent a very bad echo-filled chamber around cinematic theaters everywhere with that comment.
And by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing the name to X-Women.
So Victoria Alonso, the time has come to say goodbye. And now, the final curtain. Yep, she did it her way, and it didn't work out, did it? So, on that one, folks, if I were you, and if you were me, and if you enjoyed my absolute unabashed bashing of Victoria Alonso, the woman is gone. Is the MCU going to be great again? Who knows? It probably won't, or it might just take a little bit of time before they realize, the people at Disney, the Disney people at Marvel, and the people at DC, they have to realize it is us the fans, the cinema goers, you know, who actually work for a living, who pay to go and watch these films, want to support these films. But if you keep throwing us identity politics and representation overkill, we're just going to stay at home and do something better instead. And if I were you, and if you were me, you better come back for the next fun-filled, exciting installment.